Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy Jay McLovin here on the Whisky Hour podcast with my special guest, none other than Celeste Marie Wilson. If you watch the podcast, you've seen Celeste on here a few times. We always enjoy having her. And now we are going to be doing a segment one day a week, probably on Wednesdays most likely. That will be me and Celeste going at it, her music group versus my music group. And the idea is to educate the masses as full as ourselves. So it's interesting, Celeste. Apparently, me nor Logan know how to spell the word whiskey. Apparently, there's not supposed to be an E before the Y. It's just supposed to be the Y, but we messed it up. But that's okay. I'm going to leave it like that just because, well, that's just who we are. We were left behind in the George Bush era, and damn it, I'm proud of it. What a time to be alive. But that's what we do here. You know, it's one thing I love about this show is we get to have a good time. It's just a conversational show. We're no full formal interviews. But what we are going to do is talk about some great music, Celeste. And your first selection, or the band you brought to the table was Oh Hellos. They are a folk group. And the songs, I don't know what I just said there, but I'm going to say something else. But that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to keep rolling. They're a folk group. And if you got kids out there, please don't let them show. No, I'm just teasing. But it is Oh Hellos. The song is Soldier, Poet, King. And another song we're going to be talking about is Constellations. And yeah, so again, just a little bit of background. This song was released in 2015, Soldier, Poet, King, by Maggie and Tyler Heath. They wrote and produced it. They're out of Texas. I didn't realize. I guess when I was looking at this, I realized we chose two Texas groups. I chose the Black Pumas out of Austin, and you chose Oh Hellos, and they're out of Texas. I don't know what city they were from, but it just says they're out of Texas. But you can find these songs. Well, you can find Soldier, Poet, King. You can find that on the Dear Wormwood album, and it's song number 10. If you want to go check it out after the show is done, that is the album and group. But okay, I got to tell you, so I listened to this song, Soldier, Poet, King, and the first thing that came out of my mind as I'm driving on my way to Dallas, Celeste, was it sounds like a sea shanty. And Melanie says, and actually she said it first. I plugged it in, and she's like, oh my God, that's a sea shanty. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty dope. She's got us listening to sea shanties, but we're gonna ride with this one. And it was cool. I mean, it was great. You know, it talks the verse 1. It talks about come as a soldier who carries a mighty sword to tear your city down. And then the other one the next verse talks about your weapon is a tongue, or as a poet, you use your words as a weapon. I apologize. Use your words as a weapon that will slay you with the tongue, right? And then the last one talks about being the king and stuff like that. So it really kind of breaks the song down. And the more I realized was this talking about Jesus and the second coming of Jesus. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it at first. And I started kind of going into more in depth about why they wrote and what they wanted the song to be about. And I was pretty spot on. I didn't know it was going to be the second coming, but it felt like this had to do with Christian music, had to do with things that happen in scripture and Jesus and whatnot. I kind of felt like it was going down that vibe. And the more when I started researching the song and what it was about, that's when I realized it was about Jesus and the second coming of Christ. And I was like, man, that's crazy. And so my first question to you was, you know, what inspired you about Soldier, Poet, King, and Oh Hellos? Was it the fact that they were basically a Christian folk group, or was it the way the song was delivered as a shanty type? What exactly for you brought you into it?
Well, I started listening to the Oh Hellos before quarantine. So before the pandemic, I was actually planning on going to one of their shows. And when I first listened to them, I didn't know they were a Christian folk band. I thought they were just like a folk band. And then after a while, I kind of figured that out, and I was like already onto the music. And it's kind of like I like the sneaky things, you know, when you're not like just coming out and saying it right on the nose. It's kind of in there, and you have to look for it and whatnot. And I don't know, they're just a really cool kind of band.
And I see why you're I see why you would be drawn to this, right? Because I know, and we talked about this, and when you do your writing of your music, a lot of it has to do with poetry or constellations or things like that in those realms, right? Storybook type things, right? And so when I started listening to this song and realizing what it was and how and things like that, I said I can see why she's drawn to this, because you see these types of things in your music, which is great. I like how you take something like that and it inspires you, and then you kind of make it your own and you go a different direction with it. I think that's kind of what music is all about, in my opinion. I realized that. So when I started researching this even more, I didn't realize, but their music is based on C.S. Lewis and his writings and stuff. And I was like, okay, now this is starting to, make a little bit. Yeah, it's like the light bulb is coming on, and I'm starting to see the direction in which we're going, which I think is great. Like I said, I've never really. Melanie, my wife, is into bluegrass and folk and music and things like that, because that's the region of the country. I mean, she's from West Virginia, in the mountains of the Appalachians, and that's just the kind of things that's their their specialty or whatever music they like. So now I'm starting to get, when I heard you do this, it's kind of weird how like these people are coming into my life that are folk driven or bluegrass driven. I feel like God is telling me, Jay, these are the people I want you to hang out with. I know you're an alternative and heavy metal and all this other stuff, but I think this is the direction I want to go. So I'm gonna put some people in your life that are gonna push you in this direction, and then let's just see what comes of it. And I like it, because I don't know if I would have ever met my wife. I don't know if I would have ever met you, Celeste, that I would have gone down these paths, if that makes sense. Right. Which I think is the premise of why I wanted to do this show with you, is I wanted to see what your path looked like, because I felt like it would give me a different perspective, maybe somebody who's out there, a different perspective or a different avenue of approach that maybe they haven't thought about, and maybe I can do something for them as well. And then that's what I love about music. In a world that is so crazy right now, the one thing that we can all gather around, the one thing, even if we're, the country's divided right now, but one thing that brings us together is music, because I could be a rock musician, lover and type of music person. You're a folksy country music. And so we're divided by what we listen to. But at the same time, when we listen, like you say, Jay, listen to this, or I say, Celeste, listen to that. And if you start vibing on it, well, now we just came together. And something that we probably may have been divided on initially. Do you agree with that?
No,
about music?
I also think that music puts stories and perspectives in ways that allow us to listen while we otherwise would not.
Right. Yeah, and that's the one thing that's what I love so much about. I think it's one of the first things that drove me in the direction of listening to music, or really getting into music and things like that. But yeah, so if you listen to this album, Dear Wormwood, I found out that it was inspired by the Screw Tape Letters.
Yep.
Which is another interesting thing altogether. So it just seems to me like there's a lot of these influences that go into this band, and I don't know a lot about folk music, Celeste. So can you tell me, is a lot of folk music, does it follow this type of writing, like where people are inspired by like letters or folks, and then they kind of push that direction, or is that just this group you think in particular?
I think from what I've heard, a lot of folk music is like inspired by older stories or something right. that is like verbally wants to be kept alive but hasn't been written down. Very much like mythology and folklore, So like think about what you play around a campfire. That's kind of how I describe folk music. If I can play it around a campfire, it's folk or country.
Interesting. Yeah, it is, because when I listened to it, that was another thing I was telling Melanie. Because me and Melanie, we started getting into this whole Texas Renaissance Festival because her friends like to go there. Her teacher friends do. And so I've gone a couple of times. I think we're going to go in November or something like back to it again. And when you walk around that festival, or even the time period that festival was derived from, this type of music, folk music, really fits in well.
It does. I told a friend who she's like big in folk music, Lilith Mack. And she performs at the Renaissance Festival, all those kinds of things, because her music just fits right in, and it's the same kind of vibe that the Oh Hellos have.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I was talking, Like Mel, we were talking about sea shanties, and I was telling Melanie, I was like, man, I feel like this song. I feel like I'm at the Renaissance Festival when I'm listening to this song, and she kind of agreed with it. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's just such a different form that I have not listened to before, and it's interesting. What is it about folk music and this song in particular? I put that draws you, but I kind of think you've already answered that already. So I'll kind of leave that one off to the side, but. Some of the things I also took away from this is very Celtic-like.
It is.
It's very Celtic.
Influences.
It's
got so many of those different communities. Everything from like Celtic influences to Spanish influences. Like Texas really is a melting pot. So you get songs from our musicians in Texas. You kind of get every sound.
Right, and that's another thing. So. Going back to, the church theme of their music, it seems like, and not just so much this song, but you'll hear it in Constellations and a few others. They're very hymn-like in structure.
They are. And things like that. Yeah, that is very hymn-like. I like it because you can sing along. It's like, if you're having a bad day, which we all have bad days.
Yes.
Have a bad day to upbeat folk music. It's like, have you ever, if you ever have a bad day, turn on some Beethoven, crank it up, and then you're not gonna frown anymore. You're gonna have to like dance in your car to it. Like I don't know, something about that old sounding music. You feel weird when you cry. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I can see that. I can honestly see that.
It's like a very like feel good kind of sound.
So this band and this sound and this album, I guess more so this album, has been described as majestic folk pop. And then one person described it as modernized rock feel. I didn't get the modernized rock feel, so I don't know where they were going with that.
The rock, but
I didn't really pick up those. That was just one of the persons. I forget what magazine or what organization they were with when they were describing it, but that's one of the words that they used to describe it. I more or less I didn't pick up on that. I thought it was very majestic. I thought it was very folk pop, type of thing. But I don't know. I didn't get that one. But yeah, but I do like the fact that they're known for their literary songwriting, which again is, I can see why you're drawn to it, because you're all about literary and a lot of your songs, right?
I absolutely am.
Yeah, which I think is amazing. So the next one I thought, or actually it comes off the 2017 album, Notos, which I was like, where do they get these names from? And then as I look more into that, they are very in. It's like and then I started looking at all four of their albums that they have out are all about the four winds.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were picking up on that, but I was like, when I started looking at all their albums, I was like, yeah, they're right. They're all based on the four winds. Matter of fact, I think Notos, which is their second album, I believe, was actually called The South Wind. If I'm not mistaken, it's God of the South Wind is what Notos means. And it's Notos, or it can be Notus.
I didn't know that right now.
Huh?
I did not know that until right now.
See? Telling you, hey, look, when I do my research, man, I'll bring a couple, not a lot, but I'll bring a couple of nuggets.
You're gonna make an A.
No, but the one thing about Constellations was it's a very technically written song.
It
like
is.
Tectonic plates and things like that. The words they use are very deep words.
They are, yeah. That used to be on my study playlist. For the longest time, I didn't notice how complicated this song was. But when you record songs, you have to have like reference tracks, And so on one of the songs I recorded, I used Constellations as a reference track. And I didn't think anything of it. It was just like sonically, I liked how everything sounded. And then I had to sit and like actually look at, how everything was structured and how it moved. And then I was like, wait, this song is actually really hard. I don't know how they did this. And so it was kind of it's a really cool song because of how detailed they are with everything.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I know I wrote it down here. One of the things I wrote down, and really in all of their folk, really all of folk music is one of the things I always pick up on is the amazing picking that goes on the guitar. Like they have great guitar technicality to it, you know.
And you'll talk to the folk people and stuff. Like I've been to shows and opened for some folk people because my stuff isn't really. My music doesn't have much of a genre, so I can open for country people, folk people. I've been at R&B things. I went to a weird rock thing, but I love opening for folk people. And whenever I talk to them, a lot of times they're like, no, I've never had any formal training. Like they just like sat down and just, I don't know. It's what they heard in their head, what they were called to do, and they practiced and kind of taught themselves. And that's crazy to me. Because of how technical the picking and how fast it is. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is super fast. That's why, like, you know, number one, I always have anybody can play guitar or drums. I think is amazing because your brain has to operate at a very high level because you got the left hand doing, you know, things with the nose, the right hand does the picking. Same thing with drums. You got one beat with the foot, you know, another beat with the left and right hand, all these different beats and things. And I've always admired people that can do that because my brain only operates on one frequency. That's why I was never really good at playing those types of things because I could never get my brain to do two things at once. I can't even get my brain to do two things at once now. So I've never been gifted at that kind of thing. So when I see like musicians that are like folk musicians where they're playing these high level or very fast, you know, acoustic guitars, or Eddie Van Halen when he's doing what he does on, you know, on his guitar, it just blows my mind, man. And then I see drummers like Neil Peart from Rush and, you know, Tommy Lee from Motley Crue and how fast they drum, and John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, and even Slipknot. I mean, they're just the drumming and the technicality of it all. I mean, they're, you know, you got to think that brain is a very highly functioning brain because a lot of people can't do those kinds of things where they can do multiple things at the same time, you know. So it blows my mind.
Yeah, I think it's just the elasticity of your brain and sitting down and trying to, like, you know, start. I think once you start to do something,
right,
something clicks. I don't know why. I don't know if this is how you learn, but
right.
The way I learned is someone will say something like 6 or 7 times. I'll go, I don't know what you're on about. And then all of a sudden you'll just be like, click. And then you know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that has not happened between me and Mel yet. I still don't know what she's saying. I'll take your word for it. One day I think she's going to talk to me and say something and it's going to click. And the first thing that's going on my brain is I remember when Celeste told me, hey, Jay, just give it a little time. It's going to click. So
it's going to click, Jay, and your eyes are going to be open. You're going to understand every time she was mad at you.
Hey, listen, if I ever get to that level, I'm writing a book. I think any man out there that this guy can figure this craziness out, maybe I need to maybe I'll make some money at that. But I'm waiting for the day. I'm waiting for the day that it clicks. But if you like the song Constellations, it is the 4th song on the Notice album. And if you like these 2 songs, trust me, there are 4 albums. They're all in a series. I would probably recommend follow the series albums 1 through 4, I think, just for chronological reasons. But it's really, I mean, it's really, really amazing. And I wrote something. There was one other thing I wrote, and I want to make sure I didn't forget about it. I wrote that. That was a trivia question. That was a hot seat question I had. Well, I got you then. I got you. That was a hot seat question I had for you. I gave you the answer though, and the fact that you said you didn't know it means that I did get you on a hot seat question. Was the Notos meaning? And now you know it's South Wind, God of the South Wind. So I messed it up, but in any event, it worked out okay.
The answer to the test given to you.
Yeah, you know, the only thing, you know, what's interesting to me is about this group, Oh Hellos, and some of the writing that they do about constellations. Because when you like I said, it reflects on how people's perceptions change over time. You know, that's one of the things I picked up out of that song. And do you find that interesting? Like you know, people's perceptions, how they change over time. I always think that's interesting. You know, they think one way, and then down the road they're thinking it different. I think that's what he was talking about in this song. We look at the constellations, how you follow the constellation and let them guide you, and things like that. A lot of people talk about the lines and the imagery and the meanings of it. Is that what you were picking out of that as well, or?
I like that meaning. I mean, you know, especially listening to it in high school through college, I feel like there's like a lot of change that you're going through then, and that's kind of when you're not like exactly who you are, but like some of your ideas and your beliefs kind of start forming, and you start kind of deciding them for yourself, and so I think that song was very applicable to my life at that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you never really stop learning or changing how you think. I don't assume. I mean, I don't know. I've only lived to be 21, but I hope I can continue to listen and change my mind as people talk to me. But it was definitely super applicable as I started to become an adult.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so we're gonna do a quiz, Celeste. I told you it was going to be a quiz, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Black Pumas real quick. I don't want to keep it too long, because I know you got a busy day, but here we go. Let me pull this thing up. Now I'm going to tell you, when I did this, I told you I was going to tell you, I came out as being a king. That was mine. I didn't see that coming, but yeah. But then when I read what they call a king, then it started making sense. It talks about leadership and things like that. So I was like, okay, I get that. Yeah, I said no. It was weird. It said, let me see here. Okay, well, let me go ahead and okay, start. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, start the quiz. Come on. There we go. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, question 1. Which historical figure do you admire the most? William Shakespeare, Hercules, Joan of Arc, or Alexander the Great?
I think Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc it is. All right. In a world where you can say anything to your boss, what do you say? Why did you hire me? I struggle with self-doubt. Number 2, I don't say anything. They're the boss. What they say goes. Number 3, thank you. They deserve recognition too. Or 4, I deserve a raise. I know my work is valuable.
I want to know who answered 4. I think that's how you get fired. I'm going to go 3.
All right. Thank you. All right. Out of these options, which job would you prefer? Politician, spokesperson, or CEO? Or a police officer, security guard, or fireman? Or a writer, playwright, and artist? Or number 4, a structured 9 to 5 in office doing whatever?
I think 3.
Yeah, I thought 3 too, but I didn't want to answer for you. Which quote do you resonate with the most? The expectations of life depend on diligence. Justice delayed is justice denied. To feel intensely is not a symptom of weakness. And never mind your happiness, do your duty. And I feel like you're going to pick 3.
3, yeah.
Okay. Your crush, I love this one. Your crush sits down next to you. What do you do? A, ask them why they're sitting there. It's not their assigned seat. Which I think that's what I would say. But anyway, B, because that's kind of how I am. But B, stay quiet. I'd probably say the wrong thing anyway. C, point out how the sky looks because it's beautiful like them. Or D, say hi and see how things go from there.
I'm probably going to say hi. That's I think the most normal of them. Although apparently you're asking why they're sitting there. You have something good out to do and you're like, go away.
All right. On to the next one. What keeps you motivated? Nature, the promise of the future, The fear of failure or schedules?
Oh my gosh, I'm torn between the fear of failure or schedules. It's one of those. Probably my planner is probably the schedules.
The schedules. All right. Bet. Your friends would describe you as, and I already know the answers, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. A, free-spirited and creative. Consistent and dependable. C, strong and reliable. And D, honest and witty.
Well, I don't know, Jay. You're my friend. Which one do you think it is?
I'm putting free-spirited and creative because goofy was not an option.
Oh, dang it. If they had fastest runner, we'd put that on
there. But what do you think? Do you think your other friends would call you free-spirited, or would they call you? Because I can see honest and witty in there as well.
I think it would probably be free-spirited and creative.
Yeah, I don't think everybody knows that you are definitely free-spirited and creative. I don't think anybody that knows you doesn't think that, or does not think that.
Running barefoot, down the street, and they're like, "You lost your last marble."
I gotta tell you though, you did good. I surprised myself. I didn't think I was gonna do it because, man, hey, listen, I'm old and out of shape. I didn't think I was gonna make it to the end of the road. I was just playing with you, but I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna back down. The woman's already running. I mean, I got to keep running because there's no choice. There's no looking back.
No, it would be embarrassing to stop at that point. Like, there's a certain point in a race where you can't give up. You know.
Once the legs start moving, competitive juices will start to flow, and therefore there is no backing out.
Mama,
how do you like to unwind after a long day? Sleeping, or B, working out, C, writing, or D, listening to music?
Probably writing.
After a long day, writing. Okay.
After a long day of writing, I like to write about how I'm mad that I wrote. You'd be surprised. I have so many journals in my room. It's like, right now, and this is TMI, but I got pages of poems taped to my wall because I'm trying to organize them in a way that could be put into a book. So I have pages taped all over my wall, and my mom walked in and she's like, "What is happening in here?"
I can see that. But that's how the creative mind flows. Say, Mama, this is my job. This is what I do. I work. And so I work.
They just need to be taped up here. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
You say, don't worry, Mom. When the book comes out, you'll understand why. Just I'm working right now. I'm in my creative space. Okay. Next one is if you could have one wish come true, what would it be? A, to not attract conflict wherever I go. B, to never have to work again. C, that those I love would always be protected. Or D, that everyone would do their jobs adequately.
Probably that everyone I love is protected.
That everybody you love is protected. All right. Which of these fictional characters do you resonate with the most? This is kind of what I wanted to see too. A, Hermione Granger. B, Katniss Everdeen. C, Elsa. And D, Captain America.
I'm so curious about what you chose for that one.
I can promise it was Captain America.
Oh, it wasn't Elsa?
That's not my pronouns.
You felt like you had to choose Captain America. Gosh, I'm so torn up. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of Elsa because I was homeschooled and so I didn't get out a whole lot. But I'm not quiet enough to be Elsa.
Yeah, how about I say that quiet thing is gonna hurt you a little bit.
Yeah, Katniss Everdeen, I don't see that. She's so serious.
Yeah, they're not serious.
Pretty serious too. But Captain America, I don't got that big old muscle thing going on. I'm blonde, but that's about as far as it goes. Captain America when he was tiny, like tiny.
I'm going to make one here. I think you are like a Katniss Everdeen because even though she was serious, she had a fierceness about her that she didn't let things stop her. And I do see that resonating in you because I do think that the fact that you were able to write a, and let me just as an example of why. You wrote a song like you did over the bridge, going to a concert in a venue you had nothing about. You realize it's a rock concert, that this is not really maybe your demographic of listeners on a typical, right? And the fact that you wrote a song, you didn't write the music for it. You just basically had the lyrics in your brain or whatever, and you still went out there and performed it, gave it a shot as a first time. That takes a certain level of fear and or fearlessness and a certain level of attitude to be able to do that. And I felt like the fact you were able to convert the crowd over, like Katniss Everdeen eventually started converting people over. I think that's kind of a little bit where I think you resonate more that direction than the other three.
Yeah. Well, then let's go Katniss Everdeen. You made a good argument for it.
Yes, because actually that was the way I saw you kind of going. Because I was like, because I was like, these really aren't. But then I thought, well, that's kind of the direction I think she
stretch it sometimes and guess.
All right, next one. So we got 3 more questions left. You're often caught daydreaming about living in a world where I feel like I belong. B, pursuing my passions despite my duties. C, my future partner and the life we'll have together. Or D, sword fights and epic battles.
I don't know. Gosh. Either I'm thinking B or C are probably one of those two. Definitely not sword fights and epic battles. I'm not winning that. But Let's go C.
I think C too, because a lot of your songs have to do with young men. I think about young men. I'm just saying, some of your music videos have you with these gentlemen and stuff in it, So if you haven't seen If I Sin for You, I suggest you go watch it and you'll understand why why she chose C. I think that's clear. Gosh. It's a clear indicator. I think we're going to roll that direction. The next question, question number 12 out of 14. Out of these options, which sounds like your worst nightmare? Never showing my true soul, or no, excuse me, never showing my true self. B, a 9-to-5 job. C, a world without rules. And D, being in charge.
Oh my gosh, either A or B. I can't do a 9-to-5 job. Do you think I can sit that still? I think it might be that. I'm sitting that still. Oh gosh, I'd be running laps around the office.
I do see that because you would have to have a way of channeling your energy because you are, and that's okay. I love high energy people because I've slowed down a little bit in my life, but I still consider my brain is still high energy. I mean, my brain goes a million miles, and as you see when I talk, sometimes I feel like my brain is going 1,000 miles. But I can see you not having the structure of a 9-to-5. But I also see you as never showing your true self because you are very all about showing who you are. I think. What do you think? What fears you more? Because I do think A, B. I think it's kind of where you are. Doing a 9-to-5 where maybe too much energy, or do you think not being able to show your true self? Which one would be worse for you?
I guess not showing your truth, because then I wouldn't be able to write, which would put me in the.
That's the way I'm thinking about it too. For
like
you,
9-to-5 would be a result of not showing my true self, because I think you can't really make any good art if you're not super honest about everything.
Well, let me ask you this: have you ever been able to fake another personality that was different from your own for any length of time?
In high school, yeah. In high school, I was able to. I was like super worried that the amount of energy I had or anything like that would be considered off-putting. So I kind of like was super quiet, and it wasn't that I was necessarily like faking a personality. It's just I withheld who I was, kind of thing.
Right. And how and were you happy? Are you happier now that you are authentically you versus the version of you that may have been in high school where you maybe, or do you think that maybe that was authentically you in high school and that was just you growing into who you are?
That's a good point. It could be that it was at the time authentically, because if you don't want to show a part of yourself, maybe that is authentically you at the time.
Yeah. I think A is you. I think we're gonna go with that because I don't think the 9 to 5 I think would upset you, but I don't think that would upset you nearly as much. Because I think even after the 9 to 5, you can do whatever you want and you're good, you're happy again. Whereas not being able to show your true self all the time, I think that would be. I think for you, Celeste, it would be devastating.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to run around barefoot, acting like a little wild thing. I'd have to be something else.
Right.
And it's a shame when people don't act themselves because they think it's about them, but it's also about everybody around you, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think that's the golden ticket right there because, you know, I think people that know you, because you're, like I said before, your personality is very infectious. You know, you're very, which is great. I mean, I wish somebody would say about my personality, but I have not heard it yet. I'm still waiting to hear that one. But anyway, but I do think you have a very infectious personality. And I think that is one of the biggest, I think more people would be upset if you weren't authentically you than I think you would be if you weren't authentically you, because I think that's what people enjoy about you. Right. So we're going to go with that one. All right. We're going to go with that one and we're going to drive on to the next one. So I'm going to put never show myself. All right. Next to last question. Which of these mottos do you live by the most? Together we stand, together we fail. B, the price of greatness is responsibility. C, success is no accident. And D, don't wait for inspiration. What motto fits you the best?
I think probably success is no accident. It's hard work.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that as well. Last question, and then we find out. What is your fatal flaw? A, perfectionism. B, pride. C, reacting before thinking. Or D, commitment.
Reacting before thinking.
Yes. I also suffer from that. I do. All right, let's see here. And then that, see what it comes out to be. Phone cooperate. Technology, I love technology sometimes, Celeste.
Yeah, sometimes technology is just
okay. So let's see here. What did it give you? Oh man. Okay, so it does. It has you as a poet.
It has me as a poet. I told you I was going to end up there.
Wow. Well, I kind of thought that about you all along, so I totally get that. I mean, that's just the free spirit, not hiding who you are, those kinds of things. That's all part of that. So
yeah, kind of what I thought while we were going through the questions. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to end up as something else."
Well, definitely gonna be the poet. I felt like I felt like for you it was either going to be a king or a poet, but I felt like poet was good. I felt like that's how you were going to wind out. So
nobody ever soldier.
So I think today, if you didn't know Celeste Marie Wilson before now, I think that was a pretty good introspective, at least as a ground basis of knowing who Celeste is. I thought that was pretty cool, man. I mean, it's kind of interesting what you find out about yourself when you take those kind of quizzes. So it's awesome. It's always good to see what you find out.
All right. Tons of quizzes. My sister and I, like on road trips, we'll sit in the back of the car and we'll be like, "What Disney princess am I?" And if you don't get the one you want, you go find a different quiz. You need to gaslight yourself into getting what you want.
God, we love to gaslight. Yes, I totally 100% agree with that. All right, so now we're gonna move into the second side of it. That was the folk side of it. Now we're gonna move into the R&B and soul side of it, which is the group that I chose called Black Pumas. And Black Pumas are basically a R&B slash soul slash jazz slash rock slash blues They've been described as psychedelic soul. I will tell you, if you ever go to their concert, I went to their concert. They don't play very often. They haven't played as much. I don't. They kind of slowed down on their touring, but I did see them last year at House of Blues, and I will tell you, it is very, very psychedelic. Their sound is very, very psychedelic. The way they dance, the way they do things, it's all the way their stage is set up. It's very 1970s psychedelic. It really is, but it's amazing. But I'm curious. We'll start off with the first song, Colors. What did you think about Eric? The lead singer's name is Eric. What did you think about Eric? He goes by Ricky, but what did you think about Eric and Black Pumas when you listened to Colors?
It was, so when I turned it on, I was expecting something else. I was expecting like Houston R&B, like true cut and dry R&B. So when I turned it on, I was surprised to hear what sounded like to me Delta blues.
Yeah, and very much so.
I was kind of sitting there listening to it. I listened to it a whole bunch last night, and then I literally listened to their stuff for like an hour and a half while I got ready this morning. I just kind of went through it. They're really keys heavy, which, you know, as a pianist, made me very excited. And then it was like the fusion of the genres coming together made this sound where it was like, you know, I feel like if I had like my favorite songs on loop or something on Apple Music and their song came on, even if it was a song of theirs I hadn't heard before, you know it was them. You know, it's like they got that thing that a lot of bands have where it's their sound. It's not a genre, it's just theirs, which is so cool that they developed that, you know? And then, vocals great, backing tracks great. It sounded amazing, I think.
Yeah, and I tell you, when you hear them live, like when you hear them play on their CD, they sound just like that in real life. I mean, the background vocals, the two ladies, I forget their names right offhand, but they have two female background vocals, and they are just like, I mean, they are nonstop energy. I would say Ricky and you, Celeste, are very similar in that aspect. High energy. I mean, like I remember. They wanted. I had one of the albums, and the background vocals lady saw me, and she's like, "Hey, I'll get your autograph if you want." But Ricky's drained; like he has no energy to do anything. But if you'll take it back there, I'll get him to autograph it for you. I said, "Hey, that sounds cool." So I gave him the thing. They brought it back. They had all nice and autographed. That was great. But I mean, and when you watch them in person, like I said, they did 21 songs in like a 2.5 hour period with no gaps. Like no stop of music. There was constant music the entire 2 hours, and he just transitions from one song into the next song. And he does talk a little bit while the music is transitioning, and then he goes into the song. But there's no stops. It's just high energy, high dance, high choreography. It's just I don't. And when I see that, I think of you because you're a very high energy driven person, and I don't know if you picked up on that on the energy level. I'm assuming that they brought it.
Their stuff is like super high energy, and then like some of the vocal jumps that I heard in some of the songs. And then when I went through and scrolled to the bottom, because you can see who wrote on it, like a bunch of their songs, it looked like was just written by one person, which is super impressive.
Yeah, Eric does all of the writing. As a matter of fact. So a quote from Eric when he wrote the song Colors. He wrote the song Colors after waking up from a nap on his uncle's rooftop in New Mexico while learning to play the guitar. So think about that. Is that crazy? That's crazy or what, right?
Yeah, like literally everything can be a song.
Literally. He said, Burton said of writing the song, I was just playing note after note. Whatever sounded good, and it worked out. He goes on to say Colors was nominated, or I should say Colors was nominated for Best New Artist, Best American Roots Performance at the 2021 Grammys. So if you guys, I highly suggest if you've not picked up that album, if you've not heard them, go pick it up. I don't think you won't be disappointed. The whole album is just off the charts. But as a matter of fact, I think Colors. I think they grossed over 287 million plays on Spotify. So I mean, they're getting out there. But again, Celeste, when you would this be the type of music do you think that you would get into after hearing Black Pumas, or do you think that was just maybe like you like it, but maybe, or how would you go on after hearing it for the first time?
I think it's something I would get into. When I was in high school, I was like in a Southern rock / Motown music band, so we had like all that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of influences from both Southern rock and Motown in that band. I was getting into it this morning while I was making breakfast. I was listening to literally just straight through. I like turned on Essentials, threw it on shuffle, so I'd surprise myself and just kind of like listen to everything going on. It's like, it would be good driving music.
And I'll tell you, if as a poet that you are, Celeste, I'm sure the one thing I take away from their music is this very poetic. Like his music is very, very highly poetic, and it's incredible. I mean, that was the biggest thing. I like poetry. That's probably one of the biggest things I like. I know Mad Season, the lead singer, Lane Staley, when he was performing with Mad Season, wrote the whole album off of a book that was full of poetry. The Prophet is the name of the book. If you ever want to go find out what Mad Season's Above album was all about, just go read the book called The Prophet. I would encourage you, Celeste, to go read the book called The Prophet. It is incredibly the poetry is incredibly fantastic. I mean, it's very deep. It's very it can be dark at some points, but it can be very light at some points. I mean, it's all over the place. But anyway, if you ever want to know what the Mad Season album was about, just go read the book, The Prophet, and then everything will come into full picture. There was one. So I want to kind of move on. So from Colors to October 33, did you see the difference in styles? It was crazy how they go from one to the other.
But it flows. Like,
it does.
It from one to another, it like still sounded like them. Like when I had all their tracks on shuffle, like I listened to those two knowing what they were, and then the rest I shuffled it. But it's like, even though they jump from these styles to styles, it like doesn't feel clunky.
Yeah.
Which is hard to accomplish. I was like, that's really impressive. Because that means from style to style, even though they're jumping genres, the sound that they already have curated is moving to that second genre that they're in. And it just like, they're really good.
Yeah. And you know, so I guess Eric kind of described it when he was trying to describe what the band was going for, what the band is shooting for was, again, they go with the psychedelic soul, which he says is the chord description of their sound. And then, you know, he also talks about they have R&B influences with the sensitivity of the soul as their key component, and then so forth. I mean, if you really want to know, I mean, hip hop, funk. I mean, and you can see a lot of funk in their music, especially in I want to say, was that Gold? I think Gold, Time Over Gold or something like that. You can hear a lot of. If you go listen to their album, you're gonna see a lot of different components, which is another thing I like about it, Celeste. I think with you as well. It's very hard to pigeonhole you, Celeste, as one specific genre, and I think it's very hard to pigeonhole them as one specific genre, which is why I think there's a lot of similarities between you and them.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Because, you know, I definitely heard that when I was listening to their music. Because, like I said, when I turned it on, I heard you say R&B. So I was like, R&B, okay. And I turned it on and I was like ready for like some, in my head, I was ready for some Beyonce. And I was so locked in for it. I love Beyonce. And then it came on and I was like, I think this is Delta Blues. And then it went to the next song and I was like, I don't really know what this is, but I'm having a good
time. Hey, nothing against Beyonce. That's gonna be a whole other show. Me and you're gonna talk about Beyonce one of these days. Maybe we'll have a Beyonce versus Taylor Swift show. We'll figure that out. But there's music out there for everybody. But one thing, that Like if I'm gonna have a good time and drink and maybe go dancing or whatever, I'd throw in some Beyonce, Taylor Swift, whatever. I mean, that's great. But I think if I'm at my house and I'm wanting to chill with a cigar and a glass of whiskey, I want to hear some meaningful enrichment stuff. And like you said, like Oh Hellos would do that for me. Black Pumas would do that for me. You know, songs that get you really, that have real substance behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Read the lyrics and really like kind of think about it.
Yes. Like conversation. I call it conversation music because you listen to it and you can have a conversation about what you're listening, because everybody's going to hear something differently. I might hear this song this way, you'll hear it that way. And it's just great conversation music, right? Which is what I love. I mean, it's hard to have a serious conversation in music about anything that Beyonce has with the cowboy, rhinestone cowboy hat. I mean, I can't do it, Celeste. When I saw, you know what? Let me tell you something. There is a movie out there that has Sylvester Stallone in it. Your mother probably most likely will know it. I don't know if you would know about it, but I think it's called The Rhinestone Cowboy or The Rhinestone. But it has Sylvester Stallone and this sequenced type of cowboy outfit with this like bedazzled cowboy hat on these boots. And you just got to go watch. It's called The Rhinestone Cowboy. Just Google Sylvester Stallone Rhinestone Cowboy. It'll probably pop up. But I know your mom's probably seen it. It was because this was like, I think this was like Sylvester Stallone's like second or third movie ever in his life. So this is probably like in his 70s, maybe like mid to late 70s. Could have even been at the early 80s part. I forget, but long time ago. But
my mom's come in. She's gonna see me looking at photos of some rhinestone cowboy. Like, I'll be like, Jay told me to.
Hey, I'm just saying. If you ever want to see how I view Beyonce and a Cowboys get up, it's the same way that me and your mom would view Sylvester Stallone and a Cowboys rhinestone get up.
Okay.
When you see it, it's gonna make sense because you're gonna be like, no.
I'm gonna look it up
no.
now. I can't. The discussion of not knowing what it is, but I need to just see it. So you're saying Sylvester Stallone.
And I believe it's called Rhinestone Cowboy. Just Google that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You got to see it.
That's what I'm thinking, because I'm like, we got to be thinking Rhinestone Cowboy. Oh,
did you see it?
That is a diva outfit. He's
yeah.
dressed up.
Yeah. But do you understand now how looking at him, how crazy that looks, and then looking at Beyonce, that's how I see Beyonce.
And the sparkles and I think she probably took inspiration from that or something. I mean, like just like genuinely, it's just like, I mean, like that's pretty sparkly.
Yeah, I told you it would be. I told you. I said it's very, and that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, you know,
is that Parton?
I think so.
Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton.
Yeah, him and Dolly Parton. Hmm?
I did not know that. I'm learning all
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
What in the world?
And when you watch the movie, it's going to be very B-like. Don't go in there looking for like the greatest of acting, because you'll be super disappointed.
For my worldview and soul to be changed from this movie.
No, watch the movie. Watch the movie, and then bring your mom in there and have her watch the movie with you, and the two of you will just die laughing. Because it really, look, you know, I don't ever like to pigeonhole somebody a certain direction, but sometimes you get pigeonholed a certain direction. And it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, Sylvester Stallone, he's a boxer. He's in all these combat action movies and things of that nature. And then when you put him in a Rhinestone Cowboys outfit with Dolly Parton, it just looks wrong. Like, it just looks out of place. Like, I cannot accept this. I just cannot do it. You know? And then you look at, like, Beyonce, and she's all about, you know, the R&B scene and things like that. And she dresses a certain way. She poses a certain kind of way. And it's very authentically her. But then when you see her put on this bedazzled Sylvester Stallone costume and then go out there and try to do country, it just doesn't feel authentic. And it's hard for me as a person who looks at music and tries to look at it genuinely to look at her and look at this and take it like seriously. I just can't do it. With all the great country music now, Dolly Parton and all that, they love it. They'll accept it. But if you ask Aaron Lewis or me or a lot of other people that are, it's just hard. It's hard. Do you find it that way, or are you more accepting?
It depends, because Beyonce, like on Lemonade, she had a country song on there. She had Daddy Lessons on there, and it was like a country song. Like it really sounded country, and it felt very, very authentic because she grew up in Houston and Louisiana, and so she's from down here, and I think it was just like, and if you. I listened through her whole album, and it very much, a lot of it is still very R&B. She's got some country songs on there, but a lot of it like shifts from genre to genre. And I think after listening through the whole thing, the kind of what she was trying to say with the album, which didn't come out so much in the marketing, but did hit when you listen to the album and you had to like research a lot of it, was she was trying to talk about how genres weren't real, and it was something that we've kind of made up in order to categorize artists because we love putting things in boxes, and how she didn't want to be in a box kind of thing. Nobody should have to be in a box, and because creative expression is done best when we're able to explore. And I totally agree with that sentiment. However, if we have that sentiment and then label something a country album, isn't it breaking that sentiment?
Yeah.
So, but it was a cool album. I love the album. I like the country song on it. There's a lot of cool stuff. I like the message, but I do agree that I don't know if I would classify it. Maybe alternative country would be a more catch-all term, where you're bringing in a fusion of new sounds into the country scene, which I totally agree with that. And I think that that's a cool thing to do, because country is constantly developing and growing into a new sound. You've seen it like even from the 90s to the early 2000s. Those were two wildly different, kind of sonic eras in country. Yeah. Even though they weren't that far apart.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I understand what you're saying. I guess, and I guess that's where, the growing pains, right? So for example, you got old heads like me, and other people that are, I guess, my age that grew up with the Waylon Jennings, grew up with the Willie Nelsons, grew up with Johnny Cash and all those guys. And so we're used to our country being a certain way. And then when somebody comes on and, just take Taylor Swift, who is a far cry different in sound than what Dolly and a lot of Reba McEntire or Loretta Lynn or any of those greats, right? It just, I guess for old heads like me, it's hard to make that transition because I feel like it should be this away. But the new, millennial generation, they want their country this away. So you're right. It's a relatable type thing. And I guess, with the technology and the way that the world is changing, I guess everything has changed with it. I just think, for me, I'm just old school, man. It's hard to get into this new stuff. It's hard to give it an honest, I guess, fair shake, because I feel like I have a hard time relating to it, right?
No.
Whereas I think if you're in that millennial, you're going to relate to it because this is your genre, right?
Millennial? I'm not a millennial.
I don't know what y'all's generation is. Is it double A, XA? What are you guys? Are y'all like? I mean, it's got to be something, because I was Generation X, right?
I'm Gen Z, so I would be like the child.
Gen Z. Gen Z. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a millennial.
I don't know. And then I guess I say millennial as like a generic term for anybody that's not, I guess, before 1979 or 1980. I just put them all in one category. I know there's like multiple categories nowadays.
Try 2003.
It's 2003. Is that when Gen Z started?
No, that's when I was born. I think Gen Z started like, I don't know.
It had to be like maybe like right at about 2000 then, because I know Gen X was because Gen X was in the 70s, and I think Gen X. So Y, maybe it was like Gen Y or whatever it is. That was the one that came out like about 1981, 82, I think, and then I think it changed again. So it must be every decade it goes to the next whatever.
Maybe I think
Whatever.
I think we're bigger than a decade. I don't know, because there's already a generation after me, and that feels kind of crazy.
That's crazy when there's generations like that, right? I mean, that's nuts.
I don't understand.
It's got to go by decades, because it seems like everything is always were you in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't know. That might be. I'm gonna have to do some. I'll do some research for next show. That will be my research question: is what is the length of a generation before it switches? So I'll figure that out. That'd be a good topic for next show. And by the way, next show I'm gonna throw a little cliffhanger out there, and we're gonna leave it at that. Is we're gonna talk. Me and Celeste are gonna talk about auto tuning, singers that use auto tune versus singers that don't use auto tune. We're gonna talk about the Eagles and that 5-part harmony that they have, and how how you can appreciate the 5-part harmony and all that it brings. There's a lot of bands that use that 5-part harmony, 3-part harmony. I know Alice in Chains was like a 3-part harmony, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. But yeah, it's that's what we're gonna talk about next show. And then me and Celeste will figure out a musical group to give each other via text. Celeste, by the end of this week, I need to know what group you're gonna do and what group I'm gonna do, and we will be back on Wednesday.
Perfect.
To talk more. Me versus Celeste. Who's right? Who's wrong? I'll give you a hint. Men are always wrong, so that's the way. That's the way it always goes. But yeah, Celeste, man, I appreciate it, man. Anything you want to put out there? I know you got some gigs coming up. Anything about your shows that you're gonna be performing in? You want to put out there, or where they can find you?
This Friday, I'm gonna be at Trilogy Brew in Spring, Texas. We're having like a costume contest, so come dressed up, have a great time. It's October. We're getting close to Halloween. It's just $15 for the ticket. I've got tickets online at www.celestemariewilsonmusic.com. It's the Spooktacular Sips and Sounds.
Nice. And what day is that again, Celeste?
This Friday.
Oh, wow. Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, I have already talked to Melly. We will most likely be there. I think we're gonna try to do the costume thing, so might be a little late. So I know it's from 7 to 9. Is that correct?
7 to 9.
And you go on at what time?
I think probably around like 7:20, because I have to wait for people to get there, get seated, get their coffee.
Right. So okay. So if you want to go hear Celeste Marie Wilson, which I highly encourage you do because she is phenomenal. 7. I would get there at 7. Just make sure you get a good spot. If not, even a little bit before 7, make sure you get a good spot to see it at. I probably will be there right at about 7:15. It's going to be a good time. Celeste, one more time. Is it CelesteMarieWilsonMusic.com that they can go to your website?
And I'm like refreshing it, so there's going to be new stuff on there soon, as you do.
So yeah, check out her website, CelesteMarieWilsonMusic.com. She also has merchandise on there that you can purchase and things. So, and also her events. If you forget her events, you can find out her events. Also, if you go to her Facebook page, Celeste Marie Wilson on Facebook, you can probably find her events out there too. I know I've seen you post some event information on there. So if you miss,
on Facebook.
No?
I always try to post my event information on Facebook. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So those are the places where you can find her. CelesteMarieWilsonMusic.com or Celeste Marie Wilson on Facebook. I guarantee you will find out those dates, and I highly suggest you hear her play because she is amazing. Celeste, man, it's good hanging out with you. And until next Wednesday, y'all be good. We out.